Some of Canada's largest COVID-19 outbreaks have been at meatpacking plants, and the industry is now working on adapting. New safety measures have been brought in, but some experts are saying the entire industry needs to see some fundamental changes. Joining us this morning is Sylvain Charlebois. He's a professor of food distribution and policy at Dalhousie University and a regular guest here on Your Morning. Good to see you again.
Good morning, Anne-Marie.
As a reminder to people, 7 of 22 plants that process cattle in Canada have had outbreaks. What new standards have been implemented since we learned about the outbreaks?
I think what caught companies by surprise is the fact that risks had to be managed outside the facility as much as inside, with employees transiting, living together, lots of migrant workers living together, being mobilized together as well, really made COVID a huge problem, especially in High River, Alberta. And in fact, I would say, Anne-Marie, that I was a little bit surprised and frankly, pleasantly surprised that not all facilities were affected by COVID and only 7. So it's actually good news. And I think that most companies did a good job mitigating risk, except for this one case, which is in High River.
3 beef processing plants make up 85% of Canada's production. All 3 of those had outbreaks. With slowed production, what will the lasting effects be on the consumer side?
Asking questions about the architecture of the industry, if the industry is too centralized, having most of the process in one location. This size two fundamental problems: management and culture. If the culture is not working, or if management is not working well with workers and union workers, often you have problems around culture, and that appears to have been a problem with some cases in Canada where you saw COVID being well managed. You really had good management, and workers had a good relationship with management as well. So it boils down to that: when you have a pandemic, you need to adapt quickly. There are no textbooks to deal with a menace like COVID, unfortunately.
Beyond safety measures that had already been implemented, is there a larger rethink in the industry of the industry and what they need? Is it needed?
I think, oh, absolutely. I think it's how plants are designed. I think there'll be a lot of thoughts about that, and of course, who is being hired, where they live, how they transit, whether it's in a bus or they carpool. I mean, all of these things are going to have to really be thought out over time, and also, of course, the use of robots and automation in some of these plants is going to be critical, because let's face it, in some plants, workers work very close to each other, and that is a really great environment for something like COVID, unfortunately.
Sylvain, I want to ask about pay, because that was an issue that came up at these plants. A lot of the reason that people live in close quarters is they live in smaller quarters because they are not paid well. And so then when they're not paid well, you can't afford a larger home, and it is harder to isolate and to distance. And so that was part of the problems you were talking about outside. So of those changes being talked about in the industry, is pay for workers who are working the kill floor, who are working packaging, part of that discussion? Very
good question. I would say, and we've heard about the hero pays as well over the last 10, 11 weeks. I think we need to really think hard about the kind of people we have in the food industry and the work that they do. It's really important work. But at the end of the day, we see salaries go up. Are consumers willing to pay more for food? That's the real question. Moving forward, I think that's the one thing that we need to think about. Our social contract, the social contract we have with the food industry. And if we are to attract good talent, then we're going to have to pay for that.
Sylvain Charlebois, we had some technical difficulties today. Thanks for bearing with us, and thanks for joining us.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.